Tonight, John Ankerberg will interview a man who claims to be a living master. That is, one who supposedly has reached the highest level of spiritual attainment. John's guest is Siri Darwin Gross, the former leader of the religious group called Eckankar. At one time, 3 million people supposedly received wisdom through him from spirit beings called the Ascended Masters. He says his body is a unique vehicle which God's essence uses. The man who is currently the living Eckmaster once said about Siri Darwin Gross,
Okay, what does it mean to be a living Eckmaster?
He is the individual who, during contemplation, the Eckists, we look to our inner, and many times we will see Sri Darwin Gross on the inner, and this is responsible for a number of healings.
What does it mean to see him? How do you see him?
Just as real as you're sitting here, John, and myself, and Debbie, and Mike. We see him, and we speak with him.
Do you remember going out of your body and guiding and speaking to Harold Klemp inside of his inner space?
Majority of the time, negative. I do not. I'd have to become like Krishna, a vegetable, have somebody take care of the body and feed it. If I were to observe what I'm doing in other bodies constantly, unlike no one else here in this audience.
But actually God invades your body and works through you. Do you know that he's working through you?
Oh, yes.
as a living master, Darwin claims that he is in contact with and is guided by 9 spirit beings who call themselves the Ascended Masters.
The Masters, the Vairagi Masters. I could have said no, but I chose to say yes.
You had a council with them in the spirit world?
In soul.
John's second guest is Tal Brook, once part of the inner circle of India's most powerful miracle-working guru, Sai Baba. One day, Tal realized he was being deceived by Sai Baba and the evil spirit beings behind him. In desperation, he cried out to Jesus Christ to rescue him, forgive him, and become his only Savior and Lord. In a tremendous demonstration of power more overwhelming than anything he had ever experienced under Sai Baba, Jesus Christ immediately freed him. Tonight, are millions of Americans being deceived through mystical encounters with living masters? We invite you to join us for this week's edition of John Ankerberg.
Welcome. We're glad that you joined us, and as you heard, we have very special guests tonight. First, Siri Darwin Gross, the 972nd Living Eckmaster for Eckankar, a group that we'll be telling you about tonight. And then Mr. Tal Brook. 2 years, he was the assistant, the right-hand man of one of the most powerful gurus in India by the name of Sai Baba. And tonight, Siri Darwin Gross, the leader at one time of Eckankar, a group that across the world probably has 3 million people that follow what this man has to say. And I'd like to start right with you tonight, Darwin, if I could, and that is, I read in one of the books that you were so kind to send me, You Can't Turn Back, at 3 years of age, you say, that I had been aware of traveling at night beyond the physical worlds on up to the mental and etheric planes to the tunnel that leads to the soul plane and many planes beyond it. You're talking about your out-of-body experiences. As I returned, I was usually shoved back into my physical body by another spiritual traveler who was in training for mastership. Upon waking at times in my physical body, I was told that it was a nightmare. This all happened when I was between the ages of 3 and 4 years. The nightmares stopped when one morning I sat up in bed, and to my amazement, there at the foot of my bed was the traveler who would make the journeys with me. It was Pedar Zask, better known to many people as Paul Twitchell. You didn't know that many years later that you would know him personally, etc., but you were surprised later on to find out that he was your guide way back there. And Paul Twitchell was the Mahanta, and he passed that on to you. But the definition is what kind of grabbed me. This is who the Mahanta is. He has appeared as Krishna, Buddha, Jehovah. He is the secret force behind world historical events. None can be higher in this world and other worlds than the Mahanta. He supersedes all others in heaven and earth. Or at another place, Paul Twitchell says, the Mahanta is the all-pervading, the omnipresent, the omniscient, transcending space and time, the Ek, superior to all. Alone he stands, changeless, self-luminous, the master, the ruler of the whole world, animate and inanimate, the true teacher for all the universe, including every planet, star, and constellation. Did you believe that about Paul Twitchell when you got to know him?
Not in the physical. In the radiant form, or the radiant body. You must understand that when that transition took place in 1965, it was passed on to Paul Twitchell. There's a lot of contradictions in the writings that he brought out and that I also bring forth. The contradictions are that which he stated, and it is also written in other books in the wisdom temples, that this state of consciousness, which is referred to as the Mahanta state of consciousness, is not a physical being. It uses a vehicle. And that particular state of consciousness will last for about 200 to 500 years, and possibly 1,000 years. I always looked at myself as not the Mahanta, but a vehicle for it, because I cannot spread this body, or any of the bodies that are part of me, all over the universe.
But Paul claimed that when he had the mantleship of Eckankar, that all-pervading spirit used his body, and basically, while you were in the leadership position there, you also had the spirit using your body. Is that correct?
Not totally. It took me some years, 3 to 4 years, to work into that area in soul, to utilize the soul body, not the physical.
Okay, but it's quite a claim, and with that, I want to go to a clip right now, and I want everybody to, in the studio here, to check the monitor, and I want to hear you listen to the man that you turned the mantleship over to, and what he said about you many years ago when I had him on the program, and neither one of us at that time knew that he was going to be the next Eckmaster. His name is Harold Klemp, and please listen to this. This is the fellow that is...
That is Darwin Gross, that's right.
Okay, what does he do now?
He is the leader of Eckankar. He's the living Eckmaster at the present time.
Okay, what does it mean to be a living Eckmaster?
He is the individual who, during contemplation, the Eckists, they have spiritual exercises, we call them contemplation, not meditation, very light for 20 minutes a day. We look to our inner, and many times we will see Sri Darwin Gross on the inner, and this is responsible for a number of healings, and we look into our future sometimes to see how things are going at work, or if there's a family situation we are not able to resolve. During the meetings with the inner master, sometimes we're given a clue.
Okay, so you actually see Darwin Gross?
Definitely.
What does it mean to see him? How do you see him?
Just as real as you're sitting here, John, and myself, and Debbie, and Mike. We see him, and we speak with him. For instance, if I sit down to do my spiritual exercises, I'll say, Sri Darwin, you have my permission to come into the dream state if there's something for me to know. And I give permission, and without that permission, they will never enter.
Darwin, that sounds strange to many of the people that are watching tonight. And first of all, Harold said that you came and talked with him, even though you were in another state, completely away from where he was at. Do you remember going out of your body and guiding and speaking to Harold Klemp inside of his inner space?
Majority of the time, negative. I do not. I'd have to become like Krishna, a vegetable, have somebody take care of the body and feed it. If I were to observe what I'm doing in other bodies constantly, I'm like no one else here in this audience. I must take care of the body and take care of my physical responsibilities. So it's like a lot of great men and women down through history that, whether in prayer or in meditation, all of a sudden someone has appeared to them, whether it was Jesus, Buddha, or some other teacher. And it's not, you can think of it as phenomena maybe, but there's different levels of it, And depending on the individuals